This week's update is going to be a very short and informal one. I am knee deep in studio work right now, which is great, which means that the bills are getting paid. But unfortunately, it means that the channel is not getting updated that regularly. It will be updated more regularly with some more of these informal videos every week or so for the next little while I work on some bigger projects. In the meantime, I just wanted to share a couple thoughts on the subject of brass players' embouchures. Hopefully, something that can clear up some misconceptions that people have run into, and hopefully, this can help you in your own practice of what you do on a brass instrument. Um, the first thing is in terms of mouthpiece placement. Now, a few people actually got in contact with me through YouTube and sent me messages saying, "Hey, I noticed that your embouchure is a little off center." And some people were saying, "Oh, that looks kind of weird." Some people were saying, "Oh, I play off center too. Is that okay? Am I doing it wrong?" Well, first of all, let me show you. I don't just play a little off center. I play a lot off center, right? A lot, very far off to my right. In fact, I have a special wide slide built on this BAC custom vintage con trombone here, bass trombone with slide to accommodate my thick neck and the mouthpiece being over to the right. Now, you might be thinking, "Oh, okay, he just picked up the trombone and the mouthpiece ended up there, and that's how he always played." Well, actually, no. I came at this particular mouthpiece placement through years of conscious experimentation, trying everything and using what works. Trying to find the spot that feels the most comfortable, that produces a full sound over the whole range of the trombone with a clear center. And as you can hear, that's kind of the spot where that works. I have, the whole range of the trombone available to me, and more if I need it. In that spot. If I try to play closer to center, you can hear very difficult high range, and there's almost no center to the sound. You lose all the I lose all the high overtones in the sound. And just from a little self analysis, I can tell you that part of the reason I play off center is that my aperture actually forms off center. You can see when I free buzz that the aperture is actually a little off center, um, and that placing the mouthpiece over to the right works for me. So if you're a brass player and your embouchure is a little off center and it doesn't feel right to you, if you're having limitations, well, that might be something you might want to look at and you might want to experiment with. But if you are a brass player who's playing very successfully, doing everything you want to do on the instrument with an embouchure that looks a little funny or is slightly off center, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Human beings are not symmetrical. Okay. I have quite asymmetrical lips and teeth, as do a lot of people. And you've got to find the best spot that works for you. It doesn't matter what it looks like, matters what it feels like and what it sounds like. Okay. The second little misconception about embouchure I wanted to sort of clear up was something that I sort of ran into as a younger trombone student, particularly when I was first being introduced to the instrument and how lip vibrations work. I think some very well-meaning and very good band teachers and clinicians introduced the concept of lips vibrating together as being sort of like an oboe reed, a double reed, right? Where you have the two flat pieces of cane laid against each other and then they vibrate equally in response to airflow, as they resist the airflow. Well, actually, in my experience, uh, brass embouchures work much more like a single reed instrument. Let me explain. Let's do a little demonstration that'll help explain this. So I'm going to free buzz a note, and you can hear I'm a pretty good free buzzer. I'm going to free buzz a note, and I'm going to now. I have a little cut on my bottom lip, so I'm not going to push on that. Okay, but I am. That's not from the mouthpiece. That's from something else. Okay, I'm going to buzz something, and I'm going to push on my bottom lip and see what happens to the sound. I'm going to put a lot of pressure on my bottom lip. I'm going to it's going to be a little painful what I'm going to do. Okay. You see, I'm pushing very aggressively on my bottom lip and I'm barely able to affect the sound. Okay. Now I'm going to very lightly lay the tip of my finger on the vibrating center of my top lip. And let's see what happens. And you can hear I'm still keeping the air going. I'm not stopping the airstream. But one finger laid very softly in the middle of my top lip completely interrupts the vibration. Why is that? Well, because as a downstream brass player, meaning somebody who plays with an embouchure where the top lip predominates in the mouthpiece, the airstream always goes at a slight downward angle into the cup of the mouthpiece. As a downstream player, my top lip does the lion's share of the vibration when I produce a pitch, and that's in all ranges. That's pedal ranges, that's altissimo ranges, that's everything. And my bottom lip does not do that much vibration. In fact, the lips have different roles, and the best way I can explain that is with an analogy comparing my embouchure to a clarinet or a saxophone mouthpiece. Now, normally I would resent the comparison of anything I do to a saxophone, but it's an apt analogy. So follow me here, okay? So in a saxophone mouthpiece, you have the black hard plastic mouthpiece. That's the first component. You have the ligature, the shiny thing that holds everything together, right? That's the second component. And you have the reed, which is the component that does the vibration, the little piece of flat cane that you lay against the mouthpiece, hold it on there with the ligature, blow through it, the reed vibrates against the black hard plastic mouthpiece. Well, in a downstream player's embouchure like mine, this is the reed, the top lip. This is the black hard plastic mouthpiece, right? The bottom lip. And the corners, or the embouchure muscles, or whatever you want to call them, the legs of the embouchure coming down here too, that is the ligature holding everything in place, right? So it's kind of interesting to understand that because this does most of the vibration, this has to be very firm. When brass players talk about a firm chin, okay, when they talk about a firm corners and a flat chin, they're talking about getting stability in the lower lip, so the top lip is free to vibrate against it. So one way I like to think about it is this is iron, this is steel, and this is jello, right? This is just responding to the air. Now, if you're an upstream player, if you do the opposite, okay, if you place more bottom lip than top lip in the mouthpiece and the airstream goes in an upward angle for you and your bottom lip does most of the vibration, well, you're going to have the opposite kind of situation. Okay, and that's okay. Upstream brass players are probably in the minority, but there's some amazing people who play on a ton of different embouchure types. So but it's the opposite in that case. Is that you've got, for an upstream player, this being the reed, this being the mouthpiece, and again the ligature being in here. Now, what does this mean for you as a downstream player? How does understanding this help you? Well, let me show you. A lot of downstream players tend to push too much or use too much mouthpiece pressure on the top lip in order to ascend into the upper register. Because what you can do is you can actually, by putting this metal muscle on here, by using the pressure of the rim to constrain the vibrations, you can actually play high notes short term without using the muscles of your face to get up there. But let's do a little experiment and listen to what happens to my sound when I divert pressure from my bottom lip onto my top lip as a downstream player. Listen to this. Did you notice what happened? When I diverted pressure onto the top lip, when I pushed too much on the top lip, all the high overtones that are normally in my sound, the brilliance, the sparkle, the interest in the sound, went away, and the sound became a little more dull and a little less lively, a little less interesting to listen to. Because what was happening was the pressure from the rim was inhibiting my top lip from vibrating with the intensity and the fullness and the richness and all the overtones that I wanted to produce. Right now, if you're an upstream player, you might try this experiment too and see what happens when you apply excessive pressure to your bottom lip. Probably nothing good. The other thing is that when you're applying excessive pressure to the lip that needs to vibrate, well, this top lip, or if you're an upstream player, your bottom lip needs to be able to move a little bit and vibrate in response to the air in different ways. For me, it's a rolling in, rolling out sensation. Some people have that less, some people have that more. So if you're applying pressure to that top lip in particular, you're rendering it immobile. You're pressing it against your teeth, and you're making it hard for that to move. You're inhibiting your flexibility. So you're going to find that going low to high and high to low, like so, or like that with relative ease is going to be really, really, really hard to do if you're applying excessive pressure on the lip that is doing most of the vibration. So for me, I put if there's any pressure, and I use very little pressure when I play. If there's any pressure, it is diverted onto the bottom lip. Okay, if, just to keep the pressure off the top lip and let it vibrate freely and let it find the positions it needs to be in order to create that great sound in all different ranges. Uh, that's about it. What I wanted to share, those two little misconceptions. So to sum up, put it where it feels good and sounds good. Doesn't matter what it looks like, and you know, experiment with figuring out which lip is the dominant vibrating lip in your particular setup, and see how adjusting the pressure of the mouthpiece, the ratio between the top and bottom lips, um, helps you in terms of producing a beautiful sound, in terms of feeling a sense of ease in every range of the instrument. I hope this helps a few people out there to achieve a more natural, more easy, more fun, and more fulfilling way of playing a brass instrument. Until the next upload, take care. See you later.